There you go, Mother with her face full of chocolate biscuit. Anyway, today is, what's the day? Monday, isn't it?
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. No, it's not. It's Tuesday.
Tuesday today.
It's Tuesday, and it's about the 24th of September. And we're in the front room. There's Nan sitting with her chocolate biscuit and her wheelie machine, in which she puts all her bits and pieces, just to push everything around with her. Morris is on guard where he usually is. If Mother's eating, Morris is beside her. Morris, you alright, honey bunny? Yeah, lovely. So we thought we'd put the camera on, and Nan's going to say hello, aren't you?
Am I?
Yeah.
Hello, Lynn. Say she with a mouthful.
And Simon and Graham. And Janine and Hayley.
In other words,
Everybody.
all the family.
Everybody.
And the cats and the dog.
And the donkeys. We're going to ask Auntie Ethel to come up so that we can... Morris! Wait.
That's mine. Linda, can you see what I got? Do you remember him?
Teddy bear.
Eh?
A teddy bear.
Linda bought me that the first day she started work. At 15.
Can you remember Linda as a little girl?
Yes.
What's the first thing you can remember Linda as a little girl then?
First time I remember.
Well, apart from giving birth to her, I mean, what little anecdotes can you remember? What about when Dad came round with the dressed up as Father Christmas?
Oh yes, he was hysterical. And she asked him for a packet of sweets for her daddy, because he was catching her to work. But he was Father Christmas and she didn't know it.
What happened when he came to the door?
Well, when he came to the door, he came in, she spoke to him, and he asked who they were.
Didn't he ask for Linda?
And he said, where's Linda? And she said, that's me, that's me, that's me. And then when he gave the sweets to everybody, for each one, she said, can I have one for my daddy? He's at work. And he said, certainly, and he gave her another box of sweets.
Christmas tradition, isn't it? A box of Cadbury's chocolate fingers.
Oh, you always had that. No, this was fruit things, you know.
Pastels.
Pastures. And Dad bought them and put them in his... And the Moore boys had them as well. They remember too. They told me the other day.
But Papa dressed up as Father Christmas?
Yeah. Linda, do you remember when you shoved Nigel in the leat up the back? You pushed him in the leat one afternoon in the back.
I remember that.
They remember it and all.
That little stream now has been diverted under the ground. There's a housing estate on the field, but the big fir tree and the big green gate, they're still there. But there's a housing estate on the field, and the stream, or leat, has been diverted underneath.
And
So there's no water there.
We're not allowed to cut that tree down.
Now the tree is under preservation order. So that's it. So you come down here in 1950, didn't you? Because I was born in 1952.
Don't remember.
Up
Don't remember
Camborne.
the dates. Don't remember the dates.
When did you get married then?
36, August 36.
August the 2nd.
Yeah.
And that was before the war,
Oh, yes.
wasn't it? No, of course it was. The war was
Yes.
in 1940 something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And when you came down to Cornwall, that was because Dad was in the RAF.
Yeah. We came to Porthtown.
And he was up Nanscoop,
Yeah.
which is actually being cleaned up now because they produced chemicals there for many years. It was a biological and chemical warfare establishment, but now they're cleaning it up and it's back to being, oh god, there's a plane going over now. It's back to being an RAF base now. So you was down Porthtowan.
Mm.
And isn't that where the Spitfire went over the top of you?
Yeah.
Crashed?
Yeah. Nearly took our heads off.
Because you were sitting on the beach?
Yeah.
And then Dad worked at, so did you went back to London after Dad came out the RAF?
Yeah.
You went back to London?
Yeah.
And then Dad worked at Grosvenor House Hotel? Yeah?
Wait a minute. We went back to London, and then he worked at the island. On the island he worked. And
He worked over Multi Springs?
Multi Springs. Then we went
St
back
Ives.
to London.
Mm.
Then he went to Grosvenor House as manager of their factory.
Mm.
And then we
That's when he had breakfast with Stuart Granger,
Yeah.
the film star. He had breakfast with his film star. Yeah.
And then we came down to here.
But you don't consider yourself Cornish, do you?
Me?
Mm.
No way. I'm not Cornish.
So Auntie...
Worst day's work I ever did was to come to Cornwall.
There you've heard it. Because I've heard it a million times, now you've heard it.
Don't listen to her, Linda. She'll say the opposite to whatever.
So what
I
can
say.
you remember about
Anyway.
your grandmother? Wilshire. Grandma Wilshire. What was she called? Mary Wilshire.
Mary Ann.
Mary Ann Wilshire.
What about her?
What was she like? Little lady?
Little tiny lady with long dresses, long skirts. Beautiful needlewoman. Beautiful needlewoman. Didn't want to do much with anybody because she didn't like my dad because he was Irish. She didn't believe in the Irish mixing with the Catholics and...
You mean the Catholics and the Protestants?
Yeah. And so she didn't have, and she always called him Ryan. She would never call him by his name.
And your father, he was a butler
Yes.
at one time.
He was a butler in the army.
Mm. No, he was a, what do you call him, valet
Yeah.
in the army.
Yeah. He went to sea with his uncle, about 12 years old.
On the sailing riggers.
I don't know what he went on, but
Well, it must have been a sailing rigger in
he
those
went to
days.
sea with his uncle, and he never went back to Ireland to live.
And he come from Limerick.
Mhm.
Name like Ryan.
I don't know why she's telling you all this, Lynn.
Well, it's just for Simon and Graham and their
I
family
see.
would be interested, I thought, to know something about us over here. And their background. So, and then when you met Father, you was what, 13?
14.
14 we met Dad.
Mm.
And didn't he woo you with cream cakes
Oh, blimey, I had cream cakes every day.
bought by him?
Yeah, every day for me.
That's why he always had a sweet tooth, didn't he? Or sweet gum, because he didn't have any teeth.
He did. He had a sweet tooth, not me like that. In fact, he bought cakes I wasn't particularly fond of, but I never liked to say no.
And then, where were you working to then when you met Father? Because Dad always wanted to be a tailor.
Yeah,
But he wasn't allowed to be a tailor, was he?
no.
He had to become an upholsterer because...
He used to work Saturday mornings at a tailor's,
But he wasn't allowed to be a tailor.
but he wasn't allowed because his brother controlled him, Tom, the perisher. So now you know I like Tom,
So what?
didn't I?
You didn't like Tom. You liked George though, didn't you?
I like George and I like Dan.
Now Dan, he was the one who...
I worked with him anyway.
Yeah, but it wasn't he in the army on the horses?
He was a jockey a jockey in the army, and he used to be tied underneath the horse's belly because he was so little and he could ride without being seen. He loved horses. Oh gosh, did he love horses.
And then what about Walter?
Walter, he was I don't know what he worked at earlier on, but he had a metal drill go in his side, and he had to give that job up. And then he worked for the firm where I went to work.
What was the name of that? Can you remember?
Liman.
Liman. He was a Frenchman.
Liman of Wigmore Street and France.
Hmm.
And that's how I come to meet so many posh people.
That's when you worked for the royalty.
I worked for the ex-king that abdicated.
David.
No.
He was called David, but what was he was oh crikey.
Edward.
Edward, the one who abdicated, yeah, but they called him David.
Yeah, no.
And Wallace Simpson.
Princess Marina.
Who was the mother of the Duke of Kent.
Yes. I did all at least a good bit of her bedroom when she was married, all in white satin. I did Gracie Fields. I did her furniture she bought here to take to the Capri.
Capri, yeah, the island of Capri. And who was the musical man that you always go on about?
Ivan Novella. I did a lot of work for him.
He had exquisite taste, didn't he?
Oh God, very feminine but beautiful taste.
And who was the one that you had to sew all the leopard skins up the staircase?
Rothschild.
The Rothschilds, very famous bankers.
Mm.
You had to sew all these
skins all up the stairs.
Animal skins all up the centre of the staircase.
Yeah.
Horrible. So
then I worked for the Coates' cotton people, and I had to sew a dress cord up and down the walls in this enormous big hall, and I had to go up on trestles and do it, and because I didn't like the heights like that, so I had to go up and keep looking just the one way. It was very difficult, that job was, but I did it. And all these cords came down from the ceiling down to the floor, about, not 6 inches apart, all round this big hall. I thought I'd never come to the end.
You're all done by hand.
All done by hand.
So when you went to the one who abdicated, what was his name? I've gone again.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Edward.
God, yeah, Edward. Oh God. My brain's going.
I did his
window
seat.
Yeah, you went to Fort Belvedere.
Yeah.
Where
Fort
he
Belvedere.
used. That was his country retreat with Wallace Simpson.
Yeah.
Fort Belvedere.
Yeah.
And you did his window seat.
I don't know if he took Simpson
Yeah,
there.
he did, because I've seen it on telly. He
Did
took
he?
Wally
I
Simpson
can't
there.
remember that. But she lived in Bryanston Square, and the Duke used to run up this big front staircase at the front of the house with a huge bunch of flowers behind his back, thinking no one could see him, and we could see him all with the flowers behind his back, and he thought he was hiding.
That was when he was having his love affair.
That's when he was carrying on.
Mm. But did you ever see his previous love? What was she called?
Oh, I did work for her. Yes, wait a minute.
Oh gosh. Oh dear. Dunce. No, Dunny something. No. What? It was a double-barreled name. Dudley
Ward.
Dudley Ward was his other lady love.
That was his first lady, I think.
And the one that
and
they
then he had the furnace.
yeah, but it was Dudley Ward, wasn't it? That they believed that her son or daughter was his child. Didn't he give a huge, walloping, great big present?
Nobody ever knew.
But didn't she have a child by him?
Not her. No.
Which one was it?
I can't remember.
It was talked about the.
Nobody knew who the child belonged.
And when they got married, they had this massive present, expensive.
I can't remember.
Who was that? That wasn't Dudley Ward.
No. And the,
Because you've seen the Queen and the Queen Mother, haven't you?
yeah. Oh, time and time again I've seen them going from to Euston Station to go in the train to go to Balmoral and see the little girls when they were quite tiny.
Your mother was a royalist, wasn't she?
Yeah, well, I used to have to get up with my mum early morning, these different Sunday mornings when there was a meeting down at the cenotaph. And Mum used to take a mirror out of her handbag and stick it on a stick. And so you turned your back and you looked in the mirror at everything that was going on, which was high up, and you could see everything. And yet we were in miles and miles of people.
Did you ever see any of the royal occasions?
Oh gosh, yes. Yes.
Did you ever see, for example, George V.'s
Yes.
funeral?
No.
Not him.
No. I saw them when they had their...
Coronations at all?
I saw them when they... You couldn't go in anything like that unless you had tickets. I saw the procession. I went and saw the procession down Baker Street one day. When I think it was when they were retiring.
Mm.
Queen Mary, she was a bit starchy.
Queen Mary is, to my mind, Elizabeth is going to end up looking like Queen Mary, because I think you can see the family features there.
Oh yes, it is.
Mary and Elizabeth now, don't you?
Yeah.
So what was it like during the war when Dad was away?
Well, I used to sleep under the staircase. I used to put Christine in a pram, and someone's bossing in here. I used to put her in the pram, and I used to sit on a chair under the staircase. Oh, and one night, and I used to have a candle. I used to light a candle because we mustn't have lights showing anywhere, and I always unlocked the door. So as if there was any blasting, your door would blow open without smashing. And one night I looked and all the place was lit up in the hall. I was in under the stairs and everywhere was lit up. And I didn't know what it was, but I'd left me pinafore on the door handle and the strings were blowing because I'd got the door slightly open and it blew into the candle. And it was burning up. God.
Like the time you set your hair on. I remember you setting your hair on fire.
Yeah, that was a special day I set my hair on fire.
Oh, I can remember that. Looking in the glass door and seeing your reflection with you. You were standing with a joint of meat in your hand and your head on fire. Yeah, I remember that. I remember screaming at you, your head's on fire. That was up Camborne. Oh dear. But do you remember you was telling me that when you woke up one morning during the war, there was silver everywhere?
Oh, yes. The trees rang in silver. It was like
Tinfoil.
tinfoil in strips. And the aircraft had been over.
This is Germans.
Yeah, and dropped it because it disorientated all the television, and not to television,
Radar.
the radio, and
Radar.
it put it all out of gear so that he couldn't...
So you woke up and there was tinfoil
and
everywhere?
everywhere was growing tinfoil.
What about the landmines?
Yeah, my sister had a landmine on the on her back door. She was out on the front doorstep with her husband, watching other people dealing with the fire bombs. They dropped a line of fire bombs up the road, and my sister was on her doorstep with Gordon,
Uncle Gordon,
watching the front and seeing how people were managing. And Gordon looked round, and the kitchen was lit up bright. And he says, "Oh my God, we're all bright everywhere." What? He said, "We let the light on," and she got a bomb on the back doorstep.
What about the people? Didn't you tell me that you woke up? It was either you or I don't know, and the street in front had it all gone.
Yeah, the corner of our road went.
The landmine had taken the whole street out.
Yeah, and people that I knew, they had a shop, television, not television then.
Radio?
Radio and all those sort of things, and electric. and they went down in their shelter, and it was bombed, and they were all killed. It hit the shelter, and they all died in it.
But tragic. Didn't you know somebody that was taken as a prisoner of war in Japan?
Yes, going up the road.
Her husband was a prisoner of war, Japanese prisoner of war.
Yeah, and
Hang on, I got to pause a minute because there's a wasp in here.
I know there is.
Right.
Is it on?
Yeah. Right, got rid of the wasp before anybody got stung.
Give me a chance to finish my biscuit, Lynn.
So your friend, her husband got captured during the war, and he became a Japanese prisoner of war.
No, Italian.
Italian prisoner of war. I thought he was a Japanese prisoner of war.
No, Italian.
But it wasn't. Which is the one that couldn't go to the door? She couldn't trust him to go to the door when he came back because he used to eat things.
Can't remember.
I'm sure you told me he was a Japanese prisoner of war. Anyway, so father was in the RAF.
Mm.
He was ground crew.
Yeah.
What did he do?
When the planes came in, he used to have to go and get the
Pilot.
airmen out of the planes.
So if they were on
and they called
fire,
it crash squad.
so if they were on fire or whatever, he had to get the pilots out.
Had to help do and get them out.
Why was? And he also used to do parachutes.
Oh yes, he was he did safety equipment. He did all everything in safety equipment.
Why did he do that? Because he was.
Because of his trade, he was so good with a needle.
Yeah, but also because of his legs, wasn't it? I can remember father saying that when he was called up, they marched him into the camp, didn't they?
They marched him in the door. He went straight through.
He saw all these buildings and he thought this ain't gonna be so bad.
And they took him straight through the camp, straight out the other side, and put him in tents. One chap committed suicide.
Couldn't cope with it.
Couldn't cope with it.
The toilets were holes in the ground with a metal bar or a wooden bar across the centre, so you sat on the bar
Yeah,
to spend a penny.
yeah.
But I can remember him telling me that they lined up men as they came in, and they said,
you and you.
You Army, you Air Force, you Navy, you
Yeah.
Army, you... And because he had ulcerated legs, he was RAF. And he said to me that he reckoned he very likely, out of his little bunch of men, more than likely was the only one who lived.
Funnily enough, going all over the place, Daddy met several people that we knew and worked with.
He had... Who was his best friend that he was in the RAF with?
Oh yes,
Wasn't he called Wally?
oh Wally, yeah,
Where did he come from?
New Zealand.
Can you remember his surname?
I can if I sit and think about it. I can't at the minute.
Didn't he used to send you fruitcake?
His mum used to send him fruit cakes, and
From New Zealand?
He didn't like it, so he gave it to Daddy for us. Very tiny little fella he was, and he'd been in several crashes, and he was so little he used to just put his head down underneath the front, and it saved his life many a time. Several occasions. He was a fighter pilot.
But one of father's friends was called Arthur McCraig, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Now he was a flight observer, wasn't he? Now he was lost, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, Dad told me that he was in the bunk up. Dad was on the bottom bunk and he was on the top bunk. They used to call him Scotty because he was Scottish, and he was lost over the channel.
He lost quite a number of friends. And they had a dog on Dad's squadron, and he was called Winko.
Who?
Winko.
Winko?
Yeah. He belonged to the squadron leader.
Mm.
And then when the planes were starting to come in, Winko used to go and sit on the path, where they came in, and wait for his master to come in.
Mm. So, what about the Home Guard then?
Oh, we had We had the home guard at night times. I say at night times, when there was any incidents, the home guard, the special men, Daddy was one of them before he went in the forces, and they always used to be pleased, all my group of friends and neighbours, because when Dad was on, it was always quiet. Every time they said, "Oh, get in for a quiet night, Webster's on." Funny, really. And Dad used to have, they used to give them a packet of biscuits, you know, those little packets of biscuits like I've just eaten, and give them a drink in the middle of the night. But Daddy always saved his packet of biscuits for Christine, because we didn't get things like that very easily.
What did you have ration-wise?
2 ounces of bacon a month, 2 sausages, I think, a month.
2 sausages a month?
Yeah. 2 ounces of tea a month.
Butter?
Children had a pint of milk a day. I think it was a pint a day they had, yes.
What about veggies, vegetables?
We had to go and line up. Oranges, when oranges came in, you had to go and line up for, well, best part of the afternoon or best part of the morning to get a pound of oranges. You got a pound in weight. And that's how you got oranges.
But didn't Dad's brother, Uncle Bill, he had
Shop.
he had a sweet shop, didn't he?
No, he had a
Or groceries, wouldn't he? And he helped you in the war?
Yes, he gave me all the soap powder. I was never without washing soap powder.
What happened when your roof blew off?
Oh, that was dreadful weather. Dreadful weather. Couldn't be worse. And Daddy and Uncle George, because Uncle George had ladders, so he brought the ladders down and they stripped to their singlets, and Daddy and George went up and put me a new roof on. I was the only one in the road with a roof on. All the rest had tarpaulins chucked over the top to keep some of the wet out. But when we had bombs...
What about the doodle bugs?
Oh, yeah, we had doodle bugs all the time. And when you hear it stop, you knew to bunk, to get under your shelters or get wherever you could.
Get under your kitchen table?
Yeah, or I used to get under the staircase because that was a firm part of the house. And take my dog with me. God. And I used to knock on the wall to the lady next door. Her husband was a bank manager, but he was a special constable. And so at night times we used to bang on the wall and let one another know we were all right. She had twin girls.
Well, so where is your mother and father with all this
In
was going on?
London. Right in London.
So where is your mother buried?
At Wembley.
What's the name of the place?
Alperton.
So your mother is buried at Alperton.
And Dad's buried at Alperton.
And your father is buried at Alperton in Wembley.
And my sister's married at Finchley. My sister's buried at Finchley.
Which sister is this?
Eh?
Which one's this? Dorothy. Dorothy's buried at where?
Finchley.
Finchley. And what about your mother's secret, whatever it was?
No idea.
But you believe you got a brother, you had a half brother and half sister, don't you?
Well, so I was told, but I don't know.
What were they called?
George and Mary.
Martin.
I don't know. I only know that in my mum's drawer, my dad sent me to the drawer one day for something, and it's where they kept all their papers and special things. And there was a packet of something with the name of Martin on it, with the pink ribbon round it, like you have in lawyers' offices.
Mm.
And that's all I know. But I only know things Daddy has told me. How he come to know these things and I didn't, I don't know.
But your cousin told you something,
But
didn't
my
he?
cousin told me that my mother was married before, and her husband died, and both the children died.
And she lived in?
She lived in Wales a lot. But where my mother was born or anything like that, I do not know.
So where is your grandmother buried?
Kensal Rise or Kensal Green, I can't remember which.
Kensal Green.
Yeah.
That's London too, is it?
Well, I think it's out of London. On the
So
edge
she's
of
buried there.
Mm.
Most of Father's family, were they cremated?
Don't know.
So where's Grandfather Webster, William Webster?
Oh, William
Matthew
Webster.
William.
Kensal Rise or Kensal Green, whatever.
And Alice, mother?
Yeah.
Your friend?
Who?
Mother Webster, you liked her, didn't you?
Very much. Very much.
You never got on with her, did you?
Didn't get a chance to get on with her because she didn't get on with anybody. No son or daughter. Whoever they brought home, the half they brought home was no darn good. She didn't like any of us. And when, before I went to, I've only went to tea once with her, and when Uncle George had a girl and he was engaged, that got broken off. Who's coming in here, Joe?
I don't know.
Is that the fish man?
Right, here we go again. That was the fish man. Brought Morris's fish for his tea. Yeah. Now, where was we to? Where was we to?
Grandmother Webster.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about Grandmother Webster.
Well, when Auntie May first brought her husband to be home.
That's Father's sister,
Yes.
Auntie May.
And Dan brought Carrie home. Carrie used to lodge there. And when Mother found they were pally, she chucked her out. And when they all sat down to tea, she put a 7-pound jar of jam on the table. That's the kind of person she was. And I went, when Auntie May was sick and couldn't go and do her work on a Friday, Daddy asked me, could I go and help him? And of course I never mixed with her anyway. I went. I walked down there 8 o'clock in the morning with Christine in the pram, and she didn't offer me a drink. It took me half hour to walk down there. She didn't offer me a drink. She had somebody call from the union with Uncle Tom, and they sat down and they all had coffee, and I still didn't get a drink.
Because they always had the coffee pot on the stove.
Always had a coffee pot.
Hot coffee on the stove, any
Yeah.
time of day.
Yeah. And
Coffee and chicory.
Yeah, and then at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, when I'd finished vacuuming all the bedrooms and doing everything there was to do, and I was going home, and she still didn't give me a drink. And I had to wait till I got home, walked half hour's walk home again to get a cup of tea. That's the kind of person she was. Very hospitable.
What happened when you got married to Father then?
Oh, well, coming out of the church, I didn't know at the time, but she said, oh, well, they've made their bed, let them lay on it. And my mother's friend said, who was that dreadful woman?
That was your mother-in-law.
That was my mother-in-law to be.
Every comedian's idea of a mother-in-law joke. What was Father Webster like?
Well, I always found him very nice, and he always used to make a fuss of me. And he always used to meet me on a Friday night before he got on the train to say hello to me and see if I was all right.
That's Father Webster.
Yeah. And during the war, he used to walk up to see me to see if I wanted anything, if I'd got all my needs. And then he used to go back home, but on his way home he used to say he'd call into his allotment where he used to go and buy himself a bag of, what do you call it, the cakes that we have up the road.
What, donut?
He'd get himself a bag of
Is
donuts.
that where Father got his taste for donuts?
I suppose. He used to go and buy himself a bag of donuts, go and shut himself in his shed on the allotment till he'd eaten all his buns, then he'd go home. He had to do things if he wanted to do it.
Yeah, but I can remember Father getting a belt from Grandfather Webster.
Oh, yes. He did.
Father said it hurt.
It did, because he drove his father's lorry.
Mm.
Dad came out and saw his lorry going down the road.
Father Webster saw his van going off down the road.
Disappearing down the road.
And it was Papa in the driving
and it
seat.
was Dad. Under 8.
Under 8?
Under 8 years of age, driving his
van down the road.
Yeah.
And he got the belt.
And he got the belt for that.
And then Papa used to take his pocket money and tie it in a bit of...
Oh, Uncle Dan.
Oh, was it Uncle Dan? It was
Yeah.
Dad too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know about Dan.
He used to tie it down the drain?
No, it was Uncle Dan. If he did any, because he loved horses, and he used to help people that had horses in those days, and he used to go and help to attend them and all that, and they used to get pocket money for doing it. So instead of taking it home, because Grandma Webster would take the money away, he tied it in a knot in his hanky, tied it down the drain, and go and get it the next day. And that is where the cheeky look comes into
the family.
Katie's little boy.
Oh, Daniel. Well, Daniel's got the same name as well.
Got the same look.
So what about your father?
My dad never said pip to anything. He just sat with his pipe and his paper, and he was happy. As long as he got his grub put in front of him, he was all right.
Yeah, but that was in his later life. What was he like earlier on? When he liked his horses and his GGs and his dogs, didn't he?
Eh?
He liked betting, didn't he?
Oh yes, he liked betting.
Well, he's a typical Irishman there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
What did your mother used to say when he come up the road?
She told me to go for a walk, and then when he came home, she used to give him a glass of salt water.
To make him sick?
She says, I'll make him wish he'd never drunk like that and make him ill.
Yeah, but when he brought flowers home, what she used to say?
Oh, he's drunk.
Because he brought her flowers.
Yes, if he brought her flowers, he's had one.
And where did she used to go to work?
Hampstead. To Hampstead.
What she used to do?
She was a cook.
And we still got her recipes, haven't we?
Yeah, I'm still in her writing in my book. And she worked for a big American farrier.
Cooking?
Yeah. But then she was known round here in Hampstead. She got named from one to another, these big people. And she used to go down especially to do their evening dinners. And
Did they used to give her a pressie?
always gave her a glass of champagne to start work with.
What was the house like you grew up in then?
Terrible. We had, Elsie and I had shared a bedroom first, until she was married. We had a kitchen, we called it a kitchen. It was a living room where we had a soft sofa and, but we had the cookers in there. And then Mum and Dad had a bedroom. And then we had a little scullery which had a cooker in it. And we used to hang when we did the washing, we hung the washing over the staircase to dry, and it didn't half dry over there.
But what about water?
Oh, I had to carry it from a flight of stairs. Carry it from the one flight down. When we went to the loo, we had to go 2 flights down.
How many families lived in this house?
3
And were they divided off into flatlets?
flatlets.
But they weren't completely divided.
But they
though.
weren't.
They were just
sealed.
rooms, weren't they?
Well, yes, but they were flats.
I mean,
each floor was a flat.
How many people used the one toilet?
Well, that toilet was supposed to be for the 2 up ones. That was us and Tommy's family.
Tommy Green.
Husband, wife, and Minnie and Tommy.
So a lot of people lived in one
But
house.
down at the bottom one, they had a toilet of their own, which was down just at the beginning of the garden, the yard. And they all were supposed to use that, but they used to, instead of going, they used to try and get in ours, and my mum used to kick up a din because they weren't supposed to use it.
What did your father do one day? Didn't he give somebody a fourpenny one?
No, he was coming down the stairs, and one of the sons, a big bully of a man who was always drunk, came out and met my dad at the bottom of the stairs. and punched my dad in the face. And with that, my dad retaliated and put him on the floor. Never seen my father rouse himself before. And then the next morning he took him to court.
So what about your sister Dorothy?
Well, I remember Dorothy. Well, I played with Dorothy all the time. And
She died how old? How old was she when she
4.
died? And what did she die of?
Meningitis. Whooping cough she had first, and then it turned to meningitis.
And what did your mother say to you to do? Did she send you somewhere?
No, I can't remember.
She sent you to the chemist, didn't she?
Oh, yes. To the chemist across the road, and said she wanted a sheet of cotton wool. And he said, what does Mummy want that for? Because we knew him very well, this man. And I said, she wants to put it on Dorothy's face, so that before the coffin was sealed up, she put cotton wool across her face so it wouldn't get hurt or damaged. And he just said, take it home to Mummy. He wouldn't take the money for it, just take it home to Mummy.
How much pocket money did you get a week?
7pence, a penny a day, and 1 penny we was not allowed to spend. We had to take it to Sunday school. And if we spent 2 pennies on one day, we got nothing the next.
And what did you spend your money on?
A comic sometimes.
Swimming?
Oh, most of mine. Yes, I used to go and do any errands I could for anybody and ask them if they got any jam jars. And if they had any empty jam jars, I'd wait till Sunday and sell them to the rag and bone man, and I got my swimming money that way.
And where did you use the bath to, when you had your bath at night?
Oh, I had to go and pay, before I earned enough money, I paid threepence to go and have my bath. Then
Where did you go to have your bath?
Prince of Wales baths.
So you had to go out the house and go to the proper place to have a bath?
About 20 minutes walk. And, but when I earned a bit more money, which I can always remember, I had 6 shillings pocket money. Out of that I had to dress myself, buy me stockings, and with the, I paid 7pence for my bath then, because it's what they call the first class one, and you could have a drop more hot water. You see, you lot, you don't know you've been born.
Times was hard then, Mother.
You're kidding. You're kidding. As I said to somebody the other day, we were talking. Oh, I don't suppose Linda remembers my friend Beatty, Auntie Beatty.
She's still alive.
I talk to her every week.
How old is she?
She's 90.
How do you know that then? Because she tells you every time,
She
doesn't
tells me every time I speak to her. Every day I speak to her, she tells me she's 90 now. She can't understand why she's here and all the rest of her family's gone. So
I reckon your generation were a tough lot.
we had to be. God help us. We had to be.
What's your very earliest memory? What can you think to yourself? That's the first thing I remember.
Sitting in front of the fire on my mother's lap on a little nursing chair having my bath.
That's the first thing you remember?
Yes. That's the first thing I can remember. And then when I suppose I was about 7, when I was out, I had a second-hand dolls pram. I used to take Timmy, the people's cat, down at the bottom flat, because he was a nasty man. He used to beat the cats, and I saw him kill all her kittens one day, and it broke my heart, that did. And I used to put Timmy in my doll's clothes, which was old baby's clothes, tie a bonnet on him, and I used to put him in the pram, cover him up and take him for a walk right up the town. And people used to look and ask me, what I got in my pram? Let me look at your dolly. And they looked as a cat. I can remember that so clearly.
And you had a doll.
I had Dorothy's dolly, which Christine's got now.
Yeah. Bluey and Pinky.
Mine was Pinky and hers was Bluey.
Because one was dressed in pink. And
One was dressed with white. They were both dressed in white, but one was trimmed with pink, which was mine, and Dorothy's was trimmed with blue. And Christine's still got them, but apparently she's busted one, so I understand.
We'd have to find it.
But I mean,
We don't know for sure.
They were, I think, if I remember rightly, I had them in 1923. Because when Dorothy died, I was allowed to have Dorothy's, so I had the two. And I think it was in 1923 I had them. So they're, you know, quite old, aren't they, really? So they are.
So you come down here in 1950.
Yeah.
Right, Dad went out Multi Springs. Then, of course, he worked in the tin mine.
Yeah.
At South Croft Day.
And do you remember going down the mine, Linda?
Yeah, Linda went down the mine shaft. Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
Dad took her down, didn't he?
Yeah.
And you did upholstery up Camborne.
Yeah. And then I went teaching at Helston School, upholstery.
Yeah, you did a bit of that. Didn't you?
Yeah. And I went, when I left school at 14, I went to the Polytechnic at Camden. I went there for upholstery. And then up from there, I went teaching at Helston. So I haven't done so bad in my life in various things.
And how old are you this year? 89?
Yeah, 89 Christmas.
So what do you remember about Simon and Graham? I remember most about Simon. I remember him having his throat trouble.
Yes, yeah, I remember that.
And the doctor scratching his head and saying, well, you better go to hospital or something, didn't he?
I can't remember, I just know he went.
He went bad with his throat. And Graham, because he was always falling over. Linda used to say that if there was one puddle of water on the beach, Graham would fall in it. But Simon and Graham spent loads of time with us, didn't they?
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah.
They were smashing boys and still are smashing boys, aren't they? I think Dad would be very, very proud of how they're getting on.
Yeah.
But then I think Dad would be very proud of all these grandsons and granddaughters, you know. It's a shame he's not here to say. What did Papa like most of all? He liked his music a bit, didn't he?
Yes,
A bit of country and western.
He liked music.
But I think his prize had got to be...
He liked to see boxing on the... and sports, because Dad was a bit of a sportsman at school.
Yeah, he played
He was
football.
He was a football picked by the county for football when he was at school. Pity he didn't stay in it and earn some of their money.
Yeah, like Beckham. Be very good. But don't you think that one of the things he loved most of all was his little white van? He liked cars, didn't he?
Yeah.
What was the first car you had? What was that MG thing? What was it?
Oh no,
Morgan?
no.
What was it?
No, Singer. A Singer Sports.
And before that he had motorbikes, didn't he?
Oh, blimey, motorbikes. He had Royal Enfield, which they never make now,
Oh, the tape's running out now.
and a Scott.
We're running out of tape.
Oh,
It's saying tape
goodbye
in.
then. Goodbye then.